want to be rude and racist to people that's trying to help you, now you can enjoy having half of a roof over your head. I own a small home improvement company. I do alright for myself, but for some reason my family thinks I'm rich. They don't realize that I'm saving money for all 4 of my kids to go to college, and I have 12 employees to take care of. All my money is tied up. The roof on my aunt's house was in deplorable condition. Last July my grandmother talked me into fixing it for free. It wasn't an easy job either. It's a 12-12 pitch, 3 layers thick, with cedar shake on the bottom. Normally I would charge $15,000 for this type of job, but I let my grandmother talk me into it. I asked my employees to volunteer their only day off that week. To my surprise, all laborers decided to show up. They all refused to clock in. They told me my family is their family and for family they only charge Cerveza beer. Honestly, I was humbled by their generosity. As soon as we get to my aunt's house we start setting up, and my guys started playing the radio. They was listening to some very Mexican music. Then my trashy-ass cousin decided she was going to go outside and start yelling at these guys about the music, and had them turn it off. About an hour later, my cousin came outside again to tell these guys to put their shirts on, because she felt like it was inappropriate for her 80-year-old daughter to see a man working with his shirt off. After the tear-off was done, and we installed a new roof deck, I went out and got a couple buckets of chicken and a few cases of beer. Everyone was standing in the yard eating chicken and drinking beer, talking and joking around and having a good time. Then my cousin decided to come out yet again. This time she's complaining about everyone drinking on the job. This time I pulled her to the side and reminded her that these guys were doing a $15,000 job for free. I flat out told her she needs to shut the fuck up and get back in the house. That's when she decided to slap me across my face. Right away I called the police and had her arrested. After the police drove off with her in handcuffs, my aunt completely lost her shit. She started screaming at me, and then threatened to call ICE on my employees. She told me I should be ashamed of myself for not hiring legal American citizens. I told my crew to pack up their shit and hit the road. They are nicer than me because they went up and tarped the roof off before they left. About 2 days later, I sent my aunt a text message stating that I'll expect a sincere, well-written apology letter for all of my employees, if she wanted her roof finished. About a week later I was served a subpoena by the police. My aunt was suing me for damages. I explained the whole situation to the judge, and showed her the message requesting a simple apology letter, to which the judge fully agreed on my behalf. My aunt was ordered by the court to write 10 sincere apology letters to my employees, before I finish her roof that I sent my aunt. She still hasn't wrote those letters, and she still doesn't have a roof. Edit. I believe the only reason she hasn't wrote the letters yet is because the tarp is still holding up. My guys are professionals. We'll see what happens after a couple spring thunderstorms. School principal was a bitch. We're from Texas where football is king, and honestly probably given too much importance at times. Backstory: our son, I'll call him Steve, was the starting quarterback of a high school with a long tradition of winning teams and many state championships. Going into his senior season we were 2-time defending state champs and going for our 3rd straight. Just before the start of the school year in 1995 he tells us he had gotten his girlfriend, we'll call her Sarah, pregnant. The TLDR between him, her and her parents, we worked out a plan. She kept the baby, they both went to and graduated college, they're married and have a couple of more kids. The problem this post is about happened about a month into the school year. Sarah had quit the cheerleading squad before the school year started, was just starting to show, and one Friday her parents called to tell us that the school's principal is putting pressure on them to take her out of school and send her to a special school especially for pregnant teens. We had decided we were all in this together, so we took the weekend to discuss it. In the end Sarah wanted to stay where she was and we felt her staying with her family and friends was better than sending her off as if she were some pariah. This was not what the principal wanted to hear. She said Sarah was an embarrassment to the school and she could not allow Sarah to ruin her school's reputation, and if Sarah's parents didn't do the right thing with their whore daughter, she would. She said Sarah could withdraw from school or she would be expelled. When Sarah's parents inquired about Steve's punishment, and before anyone asks, it was a fair question, and his mother and I understood there was no vindictive reasoning behind their asking, her answer shocked us. She said that setting limits has always been the girl's responsibility. Boys will be boys. We left horrified by what we had heard. We left that day horrified and with a crying and expelled Sarah. I told Steve everything would work out somehow, and just go to class for the day. The rest of us went back to Sarah's parents' home and discussed how to proceed. 2 hours later I went back to the school, and after a brief discussion of the plan we'd come up with my son withdrew from high school. He told the principal would find a school that welcomed both of them. Then we went home and I called every member of the booster club to let them know why Steven was no longer the starting quarterback. Then we waited. Oh yes, I forgot to mention, we were already 2 games into the season and our starting running back was already lost to an injury. The thought of losing the QB that led us to state sent the boosters into a panic. The principal butted heads with the boosters, the coaches, and other faculty members. By Thursday, she had been dressed down by the district superintendent, who we heard was worried Sarah's parents would sue. She called Sarah's parents to inform them Sarah's suspension had been rescinded, and she could return to school the next day, then called us and asked if that would be enough for Steven to return to school as well. It was, of course. The kids were in class the next day, and Steven was on the football field at night.